Today with us, we have comedian and one of the hosts of the Being Trans podcast, Jeffrey J is here. Welcome.
Hi,
We
thank you for
also,
having me.
of course, we also have performer, actress, drag artist, and special guest from season 2 of Canada's Drag Race, Makayla Couture is here.
Hello.
Hello. And we also have It Gets Better youth voice and human rights advocate, Kiki. Thank you
Hi.
so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure. And we are really excited to dig into this topic about intersectionality, art, and media. We know art and media touch everything that we do, and so many people in our community are working in the arts and creating spaces for themselves, some of whom spaces have never existed before. And so with industries working to become more diverse and more inclusive, this is to all of you all. How have you all begun to carve out space for your craft within your industry? Jeffrey J, you want to get us started?
Sure. It's been an evolution for sure. I started,
Absolutely.
I transitioned 15 years ago and in Texas City, Texas, which is a very real place. And I started comedy in 2008 in sports bars in Texas. And there I was, you know, you were hard pressed to find a place I was welcome. And now the challenges are completely different. It went from trying to convince cowboys in smoking bars that it was okay to listen to me and laugh with me, hopefully, and to now there's diversity initiatives, and really it's about kind of bringing each other with each other. And those of us who may have been in it for a while, or people even longer, bringing up new voices so that we can hear everyone.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for pulling up your bootstraps all the way in Texas City, Texas. And now look at us today. What about you, Makayla? I know that you're working on a film about your life and
Yes.
your journey. And it seems like that is in a way like, you're kind of breaking out and doing your own thing, telling your own story.
Yeah. Um, well, I hope I don't piggyback off of anything Jeffrey had said because the Wi-Fi was disconnecting for a second, so I might get a little bit of overlap. But yeah, I am currently working on a film, a short film called Twirl, essentially based off of my life, and all that's learned throughout my time being a Black trans woman and also being a drag queen, and all those things it took to understand who I am and how much power I have in and out of drag with simply just being and being confident and being a leader and a storyteller for other people around me. I think that the industry as a whole has really, really opened up itself and allowed so many different people and so many different artists to be able to be at the forefront of a lot of different campaigns and whatnot. And so I think right now in this moment, I personally am just trying to break out into every industry I know possible because I'm more aware that there is no limitations, there is no holding back. I am allowed to have a seat at every single table.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Kiki, what would you like to see more of in the art and media space? And we're going to pass this around to everyone. What would you like to see more of?
I would like to see more LGBTQ plus representation that isn't filled with like that being their only personality trait, which is what we see a lot of. Like the gay character is just the gay character, like that's just what they are, and that's the entire personality, and that's their story arc. I would really like to see characters who are gay, who are trans, who are non-binary, who are queer, but that's not their personality and that's not what they're there for. But that's, normalizing being LGBTQ plus and making it normal and not something that has to be traumatic or something that is, a problem.
Talk that talk, Kiki. I know that we can all empathize with seeing these very monolithic examples of what it means to be queer or trans or anywhere, fall anywhere in the rainbow. And we all know that there is so much more to our experiences than, you know, a one-sided character who is somebody's best friend on a show. And I love what you said, Makayla, about, you know, this is about the art and these artists having a space to do what they do. And we know that art adds to the collective culture and well-being of everyone. And so, you know, we just out here trying to do our thing, trying to share that love.
Yes,
what
exactly.
what else would you all like to see as well, Jeffrey and Makayla?
Um, I, if you don't mind me going first, I think I'd love to see, almost piggybacking off of what Kiki had just said, but um, I want to see more diversity in a sense of allowing more people into different areas, different spaces, allowing people to be themselves authentically without them having to be that one gay person, that one trans person, that one black person within a sea of, you know, familiar body types, familiar personality types that we see so often within media. I think it's a time for that change in allowing people to see a whole range of what the rainbow looks like. As Kiki was basically just saying, that we see the typical gay person in every film, every book, every so on and so on. So it'd be really, really nice to just see us not being, not no longer just being the stereotype, but now seeing us in a sense of these are human beings that have real emotions, real feelings, real thoughts, and they are all individual.
Absolutely.
Dead on.
Jeffrey.
Dead on. It used to be that that you filled the slot, and back when I started, there wasn't a slot, and you know, sometimes straight white guys wouldn't want me on a show, and then sometimes gay artists wouldn't want me on a show because that spot was filled. And now, you know, in the past couple of years, finally, I've done shows with an entirely trans set of comedians. And because the reality is, it doesn't even matter if you look exactly like me. It doesn't matter if you're a trans guy from Texas. Guess what? We've got a different story. We have different skills, and it just doesn't have to be a slot, and there doesn't have
Yeah.
to be competition. And what I really want to see is just us helping each other instead of kind of seeing the competitiveness that sometimes comes up within the community, and just know, like, hey, we can all do it, and we can work together and do it, and it's way more fun that way.
Way more fun. And I think in the past few years, there have been some glimpses, some beautiful moments where we're like, yes, this is what we're working toward. More of that. Are there any platforms that you all follow or any other entities that you all know of that you're like, that are doing it right, doing it well, and that you're like, okay, I want to see more of that? And yeah, and I'll toss that out to anybody. Makayla, if you want to get us started.
For sure. I didn't know if anyone wanted to speak first, but I honestly, as someone who is a very big fan of lingerie, I am so in love with how Savage X Fenty has carried themselves, um, from having trans models, from having drag queens, from having different body types to there's just an array of amount of people that Savage X Fenty has been allowing into the space. It's been really, really nice to see. It's really great to see a disabled person, you know, in lingerie. That is not something you would have seen maybe 5 years ago. Like that was not something that was typical. And they're really breaking those boundaries and making it a thing that everyone wants to feel sexy. Everyone wants to feel loved. So why not show everyone?
That is a great example. Those shows are rocking.
Bros, the movie Bros that's coming, Billy Eichner's. I'm not in it, but I just the idea of putting so many queer voices into something and saying I'm going to make something authentic and funny. I mean, things are changing and people who take the chance to do stuff like that, it's electric. It's electric.
And it's like duh, like this formula is obviously something that is going to be rocking. So like what's going on? Like, yes, to that one and the sequel and the series and the web series and the Pokemon game, like we out here. And what about you, Kiki? Have you seen some platforms or shows or anything that are doing it well?
Going off of what I said earlier, recently, something that's really recent, the new Stranger Things season. Last season, in season 3, they introduced the character Robin, who is a lesbian character, and they really expanded on that this season. And I found that they made that not her personality trait. And while she's lesbian in the 80s, and that comes with a lot of struggles, they really carve out a character for her that isn't just being lesbian or the gay best friend. And I've really, really enjoyed that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more in the next season about with Robin.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's been a breakout moment for that show. And I think as well, one thing that we are feeling and noticing when we see characters like that is that there's representation behind the camera. There are people from that are LGBTQ plus that are behind the camera, that are writing, that are directing and working in different capacities to ensure that this vision in the arts is not just one-sided. And
Yeah.
so that's really exciting to know that like when you get on set, Makayla, there's going to be somebody that knows what's up and is going to be able to help guide the experience and not going to have you out there looking crazy because you're not going to be down for that.
Absolutely not. No.
Absolutely
I
not.
I loved what you were just saying there because that was another thing I was also thinking, like making sure that the boardroom of whatever the project might be, whether that be a film, releasing a product, et cetera, making sure that boardroom itself is also diverse. But because we keep getting all these, you know, I'm very sorry to say it, but it's just old white men up in HR, and that is not helping us. It's not allowing that they're using what they believe is supposed to be diversity, and that's the like the pick me aspect, like choosing the one when that's not what really is happening. We've evolved from the past 5-10 years. Like things are different. We need to see more people who look like us in the boardrooms, in the rooms that are making decisions for us, because that's going to make it more, it's going to connect more, and it's going to make it more of a safe space for everyone.
Absolutely. Top to bottom, upside down, inside out, round and round, all of that. All of those Diana Ross lyrics, if y'all don't know nothing about. So, Jeffrey, I want to go back to your roots in Texas City, Texas. I mean, your upbringing and family, like, I mean, there was, I can, your mom was like a judge and father like worked in oil tankers. Like,
Yeah.
how did that shape your unique voice in comedy?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, my mother is a Republican judge in Texas City, Texas. My dad works in the oil industry at the refineries. He was one of those like overalls every day type of dads. And amazingly, they're both incredibly supportive and fantastic humans. But with comedy, because I had done comedy without talking about being trans and it's inauthentic. I mean, it's just it's me. So if not talking about it didn't make sense, so I talked about it. And so I had to figure out how to do it in a way that was going to somehow be safe. And luckily, I look like everyone's little brother. So, like, I don't get punched a whole lot. But I had to write in a way that let people who had never heard the term transgender and who had only seen trans people on Jerry Springer know what I was and deliver comedy in these tiny sets with the Cowboys game on behind me. And I'll tell you, it'll make you better.
I mean, talk about the skills on top of skills on top of skills just to do your job. Like you had to be 3 times the comedian just to do the set that you are already qualified to do.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't good at first. That's the key to comedy, is to know that you don't start good. If anyone says they're a comedian, the best part of it is like, oh, you failed a bunch and you still kept going. So that's what you should congratulate comedians on.
I hear that. Well, I will keep that in mind. Um, and Makayla, just wanted to take a second to talk about representation. Like, I feel like you really carry a lot on, carry the importance of being Black and being trans, doing drag. You wear that proudly and boldly. um what is the importance of that representation to you for youth, for youth and folks coming up looking up to you?
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna start with like, it means the whole world to me to be able to have a platform now where I have so many different bodies, so many different people coming from different places, races, etc., etc. To have that means everything to me, and I take it incredibly seriously. I know that when I was younger, as Jeffrey was saying, the only representation for trans people were on Jerry Springer, and that was my first experience seeing trans people. And I just didn't, I couldn't grasp the fact at like, these people coming on to the stage and being like, oh, I'm actually a man, I'm actually a woman. Like, I that was insane to me. And for when I was younger, I actually resented being trans because I thought that if that's what people are going to think of me, then I don't want any part in it. I don't want to be in any harm's way. Whereas now I understand and I respect the beauty of all this womanhood. And I can really allow myself to teach others and also learn from others about self-love and self-actualizing and seeing the importance in the beauty within you. It's really important for me to continue to teach to every last Black, trans woman, man, and even beyond my race, going into all different race groups, going into people with disabilities, et cetera, et cetera. Being able to allow them to see me as someone who went through it all and still at the end came out of it like a diamond, like that's incredible. And I wanted to make sure that I continue to push that with everything I do.
Thank you for the service, the education, the beauty that you provide. Like, thank you, because it really does make a difference. And I'm sure that there are countless voices out there that can attest to that.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you.
Kiki, we have to talk about Kiki for a second though, because Kiki is really up in here, up in these schools, like making stuff happen and not being ignored. And I mean, from student council, model you in. You even talked about like fighting to get what was formerly known as GSA, but we can just say a queer affinity group on campus at your school, and not being able to get that all the way through. Like, how are you as a youth, working toward this equality and diversity in the space that you're in?
Well, for one, as you previously said, I did try to create a space for, LGBTQ youth. And it was obviously, they didn't allow it. And the reason was that they were already creating another, like, equality group, but it ended up falling through and there was bad planning with it. So it never ended up being created. So it was just kind of an excuse. And they just didn't really want to have to deal with having to create it and having to get a teacher, so it was it. But now I'm moving on to high school, and hopefully they're more open about it. And even if they say no, I have 4 more years to keep pushing to, get a space for us to be heard and to hear ourselves and to hear others' stories. And that's really what I want to do, is to be able to create a space for people who are my age who to be able to learn and speak and share.
Now you're
I
moving on to high school? You're
Right.
right,
amazing.
like
You're amazing.
Oh my God.
You're
Oh my
amazing.
God.
Thank you.
yes, the heart and the having just the wherewithal in yourself to know that you are worth fighting for, and that there are so many other youths, middle schoolers, high schoolers that are going to benefit from the work that you've done. Like, I mean, that's huge. And I was not there in middle school, high school, or college. So, yes, Kiki. So, do you all, this has been such a lively conversation. I'm over here getting hot under my shirt. So, do you all have any lasting words for queer and trans youth who are finding their footing in creative spaces? We remembering that we are artists, and being creative is it's visceral, it's emotional, it's passionate. You're putting a piece of yourself out there for the world, and you all know what that feels like. What would you say, and how would you inspire youth who are going to be on that same journey?
Kiki?
Oh,
Oh, sorry. I
um,
was just lobbing up.
sure. I would say to understand that you deserve a place at the table for whatever it may be, and that if you are denied that seat, you deserve it, and you should obviously keep fighting for that seat, and that you are meant to be there, and that whoever believes that you don't obviously doesn't really know you well and doesn't know your skill set. So just to keep fighting and to keep pushing, because one day you will be at that table and you will be at that seat.
Absolutely. Jeffrey?
I think the important thing to remember is that if you work really hard, you can absolutely do it. Just just literally work hard and be willing to have a day job, and you can do whatever it is it doesn't even matter what your art is. You can make a living doing it. You may not be famous or anything, but I've been on the road now on the college circuit for 10 years making my living as a comic, and nobody knows who I am, but guess what? Who cares? Because I went to colleges all over the country, and I have my time, and I did what I love, and now I get to write in television stuff, and I mean, and a lot of times I waited tables when I was off tour, and I taught, and I babysat, and I mannied. So just freaking go for it, and be willing to have a day job, and you can do whatever the heck you want.
Freaking go for it. Yes, Makayla?
Honestly, the only thing I can say is to keep on pushing, which is something that all three of us have really been saying. But keep pushing, because you never know what mishap might land you to meet this person or get this job or get that gig. It's okay if you fall. Just keep on going, keep on trying, keep on pushing. There have been many times in my life where I felt like, all right, this is enough. I've had it. I'm good. I'm done. But literally just pushing yourself and continuing on and reminding yourself that you have an end goal. There is a place that you want to be at the end of the day. Keeping that in mind, you can make it through anything and you can make it anywhere.
Absolutely. I'm inspired. I'm getting ready to go right now. No, because what you all are, the energy of your words is so powerful, because creative energy is life energy. It's exciting. It gets you up. It makes you smile. It makes you think. And so just to talk about the creative process really quickly, like, what is it that you all love? The sparks that make you happy, or that make you fulfilled in that creative process? What is it that really does it for you?
Mm.
Go ahead,
Seeing my
Jeffrey.
friends get success, I have a little thing that I have written down that to remind me, it says, I love watching my friends succeed just as much as myself. And watching people around me, just good humans doing what they love and changing the world without the world knowing that they're changing it just because they're doing their art as themselves. I mean, what more could you want? It's beautiful.
That's it. That's it. Kiki?
For me, it's seeing that project or that idea grow from being just something that sparked in your head into something that so many friends and family are a part of, and that's actually a real thing. And, it could take either years, weeks, even a day. But that growing process is just so extraordinary to watch, and it brings a lot of happiness and excitement to me.
It really does. It's like nature, like a plant coming out of the ground, new life being formed from an idea. Makayla?
Uh, Honestly, I I feel like there's so many different things that like keep me going and keep my art going and inspire me every day. I think the one main thing that inspires me the most and reminds me to keep going is thinking back to my family and thinking back to how I was born and raised. I do come from a very Black Christian household, which I talk about in the film, in the short film Twirl. But like that, coming from that place and knowing, understanding how tough it was then, and to know that like where I am now, I am like truly blessed and thankful. And I have really worked my way up here. And so that keeps me going and keeps me inspired, reminding myself that I literally started at ground zero. I started with nothing. And the fact that every single day I woke up and chose to keep going, that is truly my inspiration.
And
Yeah.
that's inspiring us. Like, I mean, I love that saying, Jeffrey, of seeing your friends make it, seeing folks do it. It lets us know that, like, yes, like I can, write that sketch. I can be on that show. I can wear that dress. I can pull that student union together. Whatever it is that, however we want to express ourselves, we have all of the wherewithal, all of the magic, and all of the community supporting us to do it. So thank you all so much for sharing with us today. Like, this has just been such a vibrant and encouraging conversation to remind us of the space that we take up, and also of the space that we're creating for ourselves and for future generations. And you all are a crucial part of that work happening every single day, through your posts, through the work that you do in front of the camera, and also the work that you all do behind the scenes. And so we're just really grateful that you all had a chance to stop by. And we want to, yeah, thank everyone, Jeffrey J, Kiki, Makayla, Couture. Thank you all so much for stopping by and sharing with the family. Any last words for our live audience?
You're doing the work too, buddy. Hey, you brought us here.
Look, seeing you all helps me see me. So we're all in this together. And yes, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So next week, we look forward to you all joining us for another In Conversation with some special guests from Queer as Folk, same place, same time. And also tomorrow, our Digital Pride continues with Pride and Fit, which will be live on YouTube. So thank you all so much for joining us. Have an amazing night. Happy Pride, and we'll see you all later. Peace.
Thank you. Happy Pride.
Bye.
Happy, happy.